Welcome back to another episode of the Breakthrough Brand Podcast. So funny thing, this episode topic is based on a conversation my husband and I had this week, just randomly, and it spiraled into me writing a pretty long outline here because it gave me so many ideas. And I just want to say, if the title of this episode sounds a little bit confusing to you, stick with me because I think this is some of my favorite content to date that I've created. So here's the thing. Here's what we were talking about. We were talking about how companies can improve the buying experience and ultimately make more money by showing the potential customer, here's what life looks like on the other side of the purchase button, the invoice, or whatever the action step is. Here's what it looks like on the other side. And so when we were talking about this, I quickly got on my phone. I was taking notes on my little notes app because that's how much of a business nerd I am. And it came into this outline. So these tips I'm sharing might be stuff you're naturally doing without even realizing it. But I think sometimes knowing the reason behind what we're doing really helps us understand the problem we're solving. Or this might be stuff you're completely ignoring. And if so, you're leaving money on the table. And I want to help you not do that. So wherever you are, I hope that what I share here will get your brain spinning with ideas of how you can give your customers more certainty about the buying decision. So let's dive in. Hey guys, it's Elizabeth McCravey, and you're listening to the Breakthrough Brand Podcast. Each week, I'll bring you workshop-style trainings that teach you how to stand out online, design success from the inside out, and create a breakthrough business. It's time to turn viewers into raving fans and design the business and life of your dreams. I'm so excited you're here. All right, guys, so let's talk about how to sell certainty to your potential clients. So in our businesses, we might have ways where we've decided, hey, here's how I combat buyer's remorse, or here's how I ensure a great client experience when you're already working with someone. But my question for you is, are you doing anything to combat the reluctance someone might have to purchasing because they don't have a clear vision for what happens next? They don't know what the next step is after they purchase, like what's on the other side of the checkout page, what should they expect, what all is included. All of that kind of stuff is questions people are asking, and questions I'm sure you've asked in your mind, maybe even subconsciously, before you've made a big purchase. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean the literal, like what is on the other side of the button, like not your purchase confirmation page necessarily. Although I think I want to include that here because that's a great example of a way this plays out of providing certainty. So I know, like when I've considered buying an online course or program and someone has a launch going on, you'll often see that course creator reposting on their Instagram stories images that other people have shared of the confirmation page that they got after they clicked that purchase button. And when you see them reshare that, or you see someone else bought a course and then you see like what that next step looks like, it does give you a little bit of like oh, that's exciting. I'm curious to see like what that page looks like. And that's a really specific small example, but that kind of goes back to the bigger picture of what we're going to be talking about here. So by giving people a clear visual for what they get, the thing on the other side of the purchase, they are more likely to say yes to buying because the visual, the information, however it's like put out there, it reduces uncertainty. And uncertainty is what keeps people, one of the many things that can keep people from buying. So when we think about our businesses and the buying process, I want to just like say this too before I get into the specifics. The buying process typically goes like awareness, consideration, then purchase. So someone learns what it is, they consider it, and then they purchase it. And at some point you can lose them in all that. They can stop at awareness and never even consider it, or they can consider it and decide it's not a good fit for whatever reason or not purchase, or they can go all the way through. So here I'm talking specifically about your audience that is in the consideration stage, which I think we don't focus on enough because we're all about like, hey, let's market, let's get people into awareness. But like, what about the person who's considering and like stuck in that decision? So how do we turn that person into a client? That's the tactic we're talking about here. We're not talking about awareness tactics to get people to like see your stuff to begin with, which again, I think this is so important because sometimes that's the hard part, right? Like we have someone who's really interested, but you can't get them to like make the decision. So if you have customers who are often interested in the service or product, I'm going to talk more specifically here to service businesses, but either way, but they cannot bring themselves to like finally buy, to take the action, they might be needing more proof of what's on the other side. And so with impulse buy type items, you won't see this problem as much. We all know, like, on the grocery aisle, when we see gum or a magazine, like there's not that much of a like consideration stage. Like it's a lot quicker. But for those of us who are selling like quote unquote expensive things, or you have a service like that just costs thousands of dollars, you're going to see this more because it is a bigger decision for the person of whether or not it's going to be worth what the cost is. So I believe actively figuring out ways to show a potential customer what's on the other side of the purchase is going to help eliminate some of the wait time and then speed up the customer journey and ultimately lead you to having a lot more yeses from people when they're like considering working with you. So before you think this is super simple and maybe you're already doing this, I just want you to consider that you might not be. Again, I said this in the intro, but I haven't recorded it yet. I'm recording this right now. But when I was outlining this, I was like, this is some of my favorite content because I don't think people talk about this enough. And again, it might be something you're inherently doing, but I think having awareness of like, I'm already doing this, this is the purpose it serves, can help us do things better. And this is also something I don't see service businesses naturally think about. Some of this is going to feel more product driven, but it all applies to services too. And a lot of this is stuff I was doing when I was primarily service based. So now here we go into the content. So I'm going to walk you guys through 5 ways you can increase certainty around your offer. So these are 5 things you can consider adding into your business to ultimately make more sales or book more customers because the people who are considering have more certainty about the offer. So here we go. All right, the first one I want to talk about, you're probably going to immediately think I'm not going to do that in my service business. And I have some explanation for how this works for service. But I want to start with this one because this is such an obvious one that we've all experienced. So that is free trials. So the concept of a free trial is literally what I'm talking about. You get to try it before you buy it. And oftentimes with no commitment of a credit card or of a certain amount of days or anything like that, you get to use the software, use the product, whatever it is. And then after seeing what it's like on the other side of having paid for it, you can decide whether or not you want to pay for it, basically. So free trials are really common in software industries. Again, I'm sure you've done like a gazillion free trials in your business for different softwares you use. And you can think of a ton of companies, even in your personal life, that you've done free trials with. And and you end up paying for it a lot of the time because you've gotten to see the certainty of like, oh, I like the way this works. I'm willing to pay for it. So free trials are the ultimate example of what I'm talking about here because it does show you exactly what it's like. So there's no question as to what you're getting after you buy. But for many of us who have service businesses or products that's like, hey, I can't really like give you a free trial of that. That doesn't make sense. Especially for services, this tends not to make sense. But have a few ways that you as a service business or as a product where it's not software can make this model work into your business. And again, throughout these 5 tips I'm sharing, I'm going to give you a whole lot of ideas, and just know I'm not saying you need to do every single one of these. More so like write these down and consider like which ones will make sense in your business. So here are some ways this like free trial model could work as a service business or product business. So if you're brand new to your business, or it's a new skill you've developed and you want to get retainer clients specifically, so I'm talking about retainer type work, you can offer someone a free month or a free project or a free photo shoot, whatever it is, to give you a shot at doing the job long term. And the deal can kind of be like, hey, if you don't like it, if it doesn't feel like a good fit, you can terminate and then not pay me anything. If you do like it, we can continue on at whatever your rate is for the service or product. And the funny thing is, like, when I was thinking through, like, okay, how do we make free trials work in service businesses? I realized I have literally done this exact process with two women who have worked with me on my team in my business. And both of them came to me, they pitched themselves and told me what they can do, like what job they can do well. They saw a need in my business and said, hey, here's what I do. Can you give me a shot for 1 month? Or it's different for each one, but like whatever thing it is, one project. And if you don't like it, we'll stop. And it worked because for me, it was like, there was no risk, right? And I'm not saying like, don't hear me say that like, oh my gosh, you need to do everything for free. I certainly don't think that. But I do think like when you're trying to get your first client or your first client in a new service, offering something for free once and giving them a taste of it before committing long-term can be really great. I also have had friends who are business owners who we talked about this, where like, they have a photographer they work with now, but the photographer did the first shoot for free as a trial, and now they're on a retainer with them for photography work. Interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed, so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravey.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravey.com/CHM. Now back to the episode. So you see this all the time. If you're a graphic designer who wants to get into retainer work, offer to do some graphics, maybe some social media graphics, whatever it is for someone for free, and then see about like turning that into something paid. And I would just say with this, if you are offering to do something for free on the front end when you're offering it, go ahead and talk about what the paid version is going to be. Otherwise, it could be like you're offering something for free and then you're like, now pay me thousands a month for this. It might feel a little confusing. So the person going into it needs to know what the paid cost is going to be. But yeah, this is just so smart. And again, the women who I've experienced this with personally, they did other things amazing besides this one thing that made it so powerful. But the try before you commit thing is going to help people take away any hesitation. It kind of takes the headache out. It takes the like resistance out. So I want to ask you with a retainer offer, is there something that you could ask someone to maybe like sign a 3-month contract and then reevaluate after? Or could you do it for free and then reevaluate after the free time? Whatever it is, see how you can fit that into your business. Another thing that I'm not making this its own point because I think it fits really well into this, but if you are a product business, maybe a course creator, or even some other kind of product, I don't know your specific business, but you could do a first module free free of a course. And this exactly fits into the free trial concept. So if you're a course creator, do the first video, the first module, whatever it is of the course for free as an opt-in. So collect people's emails when you do this so that people can see what it's like. And I've seen people do this to where, like, when they give the free module or free first video, they're literally going ahead and setting up this potential customer with like Kajabi or whatever their course software is and everything. And it's like, again, that like shows you the next step so beautifully, because it's like that person signs up for the free thing and now they already have a course login. So they already know like what that step is like. And that could feel a little headachy to some people who maybe are not used to online courses yet. So they're really fully sampling how the product works, but only a sample, and it's before you buy anything. So I really have loved that when I've seen course creators do that. And that's actually helped me personally buy a course before, where I'm like, oh, I got to try it and now I see, and that was really helpful. And now I feel comfortable buying it. So first thing here, you guys, free trials, try before you commit. That's my first tip here. And I would really encourage you, again, to think about your business, your offer, and brainstorm if this is something you could fit into your business to make more sales. Okay, now we're going to move on to the second one. Again, I have 5 here and they're in no particular order, but I did start out with like the most obvious one, and we're going to move into some less obvious ones throughout. Okay, so the second one, video tour of the product or service experience. So I personally do this one and I love it. And I love when I've seen other people do it. And I've been doing this, gosh, I mean, like the whole time I've had my template shop, really. So my question, can you show people in a video format exactly what they're getting? And again, this applies to products and services. So no matter what you're selling, I want you to try to think about, hey, how can I apply this to life coaching, to wedding photography, whatever it is. So I do this for my Show It Blueprint course and the Compelling Copy Blueprint. So both of those are courses that come with a website template purchase. I do sell both of them separately. If you're ever curious about that, message me and we can let you know how you can get those. But typically it's like something that's included, just included in the cost of a template. So me telling you as a sales pitch, you get an online course with your purchase is honestly not exciting. And I think people miss that sometimes when they add on extra stuff to their offers. Like, what does the online course do for you? Like also long courses are not necessarily better than short courses, which is another thing I think people miss. So like me telling you how many modules it is could not be that exciting. It doesn't really tell you what it does, but me logging into the course, recording a video, showing you around and talking through exactly what's inside gives you a wonderful, clear picture of what the value is. Cause I'm able to show you like, hey, here's literally everything here. And I'm going to explain to you what the benefit is, which some of that goes back to like how you're talking about it on your sales page in general. Talk about benefits and the meaning, not just what it is. That's a huge copywriting tip for your for sales copy. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I also do think that with a service, you can do this as well. So it'd be a little different though. It might be more of a mix of you talking face to camera and then also maybe you showing your screen of like, what is the onboarding questionnaire like? I'm thinking as a graphic designer, like what's the Pinterest board collaboration look like? Those kinds of things. Maybe even behind the scene footage of like you on a Zoom call with a client or you shooting a wedding, that sort of thing. Basically brainstorm what this could look like for your business. And I do want to say if the video doesn't feel like the right fit for you, I totally get that. And I would ask like, how can you detail the process out another way? Maybe it's in a blog post where it's like about your process. Maybe it's a series of blogs where it's each step of the process is kind of laid out. Maybe it's a lookbook, PDF guide a potential customer or client gets when they inquire with you. It could be a number of things. Written word also works too. I just personally love video content, but I think honestly combining the two together is probably the best thing because everyone, has a different learning style they like to go with. But yeah, just how can you tell a potential client or customer what they get in detail? Okay, so that was the second one. First 2 so far, guys, free trials and then a video tour of the product or service experience. Now, the third thing, social proof. So this one might feel obvious. Obviously, testimonials and statistics, we all know they help people feel more comfortable buying. because we trust the masses. We trust that someone, even if we don't know them, has put their hand up and said, hey, this person's great. And I'm sure if you're an avid podcast listener over here, then you've definitely are using testimonials on your website and in your marketing. I did a 3-part, or maybe 2 episodes, 2 or 3 a while back about testimonials. So just scroll back, probably more like in the 30s episodes, but about testimonials. So you're probably already doing this, but I want to challenge you on a few ways to take it further here that really speaks to what we're talking about of creating certainty. So unfortunately, written testimonials could feel less reliable because they could be doctored with or stolen. And so funny that not funny actually, more like sad, but a few weeks ago, after I ran my website through a system that finds people who have stolen your content, I found someone who was using 10 plus, like you guys, literally so many of testimonials from M-Shop customers. They were using them on their website and they had literally just changed up who said it. So took y'all's names off. And then anytime it said Elizabeth or M-Shop or something like that, they had changed it to their own name. And it was really shocking to see that. But I kind of realized there, like anyone can go on her website and maybe believe those stolen testimonials were written for that company when they actually weren't, because it's like there's no way to know. And they were really good testimonials. Like they definitely took like the best ones from my website. And I know that's a rare case, but that got me thinking of like social proof can be completely fake. And I hate that that's even a thing, because of course, like I know people of integrity, I know you guys listening would not be doctoring with your testimonials and making fake ones. I hope no one would be doing that. But that brings me to this point here of like, what can't be changed up? So one thought was a video social proof, going back to what I said above, like about a video tour of your product. Video social proof is huge because we are seeing someone who is real, who is recording themselves talking about your product or service. So another one, real screenshots of customers' emails, their DMs, etc., giving feedback. And I realize that even those 2 things can actually, unfortunately, be edited too. But there's a type of genuineness. You know what I'm trying to say. I think too, like having a straight up screenshot or video that are saying like, here's what it's like. It's less likely, I think, to have been messed with. And again, I know most people are not stealing testimonials. So I also want to say that I think that's unfortunately a rare case and like a really weird thing that happened to me. But I do think like when we're thinking about providing certainty, there's something about seeing that type of certainty when it's someone who is just like talking to the camera about you, or in the case of an email, typically those are like, you did not ask people to write you a review. I know sometimes on social media, I share emails I get from you guys as well, not all of you listening, but you guys who are template customers who you're just writing me an email. Like you weren't trying to write me a review. And then I'm like, oh, that's like really good feedback I can share, showing just like a random email I get. So I think that's kind of where the genuine aspect of it comes through. So here's a way to put this into action. Do you have any clients that you could ask, hey, could you record a video telling your experience and assuring someone else of why they should buy? So maybe your like favorite clients who love you so much, ask them, could you record a video like that? And a thought in these videos, they don't need to be super professional. They don't need to be fancy. And again, I think there's a genuine aspect to a iPhone recorded simple video. Obviously try to get good light and that sort of thing, but like a low production quality, I think, speaks to the genuine aspect. And I've done this customer video thing a ton of times in my business for both the template shops and for service stuff. So again, it works for both. I can tell you right now, as a product and service business, I've used it for both aspects. So I want to give you some examples. So when I was working with my dear friend, Jenna Viviano, on her website design, gosh, I mean, it was years ago now, but she was so excited about our project that she asked me, hey, could I record a video talking about the first step of the process and what it's been like? And this was the mood board stage, because we start with branding and the way my process works, and then go onto the website. And so she made a video. I mean, it was so cute, like her just casually sitting outside with an iPhone, like 2 minutes long, maybe, talking about what the experience had been like so far. And I shared it on Instagram, saved it as a story highlight. And it was awesome. I captioned it so people who didn't have the volume up could kind of get the gist of what she was saying. And that video was literally focused on the first step of the actual design process. And it was really powerful. And I know people who were like considering working with me found that impactful. Another example, I also use video testimonials from website template buyers in promotional content where I've asked them to record something and they have done that. And again, when you're trying to do something like this, I would just be with the video side, really clear on what you're asking. So like the one time I asked people I specified things like the orientation they're going to hold their phone. Is this a horizontal or vertical video? Do you want them to start by introducing themselves, or do you want them to go straight into the review? Like that's another thing to consider, kind of thinking about that. Okay, another thing I've done that it's so fun, you guys. I love this video. So template buyer, Kaylin Thompson, y'all have heard her on the podcast twice now, but she recorded a review after she launched her website. And it was funny because she sent me a DM on Instagram with a video. That's how it all started. And she was just raving of like, I love my website so much. I did this in like literally 5 days. It's amazing. And then she was like, if you need me to like make anything to help you like finish out your launch week promotion wise, let me know. And so I'm like, yeah. And so she made just like a really short, like 3-minute video, and sent it to me on Loom, I think is how she sent it. And it was her just talking about how excited she was with the first step to the last step of her process. But she was someone who was fresh off that first step. She was fresh off of pressing the buy button. Again, like she recorded this like 4 days after purchase or something like that. So, I was able to use that in my marketing and show people like, hey, here's a real customer talking about this, and her video was not professionally done. She looked beautiful and amazing, but it was like not great lighting or anything like that. And again, genuineness. So those are some examples of kind of like how you can integrate this aspect of like social proof that's not just straight up testimonials into the certainty process. And I would encourage you, if you're like, I don't even know where to get started with testimonials, scroll back through and find those testimonial episodes. I'll actually link to them in the show notes. That's a good idea because I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I want you guys to be able to listen to those. So that is the third thing, social proof that's farther than just a written testimonial. Okay, the fourth one. So this is an interesting one, and I think is my favorite of all of these like steps I'm sharing. It is good stuff. So I've done this in my business sometimes and not others, but now I'm realizing like this needs to be something I do consistently because I realized how powerful this was when I recently hired a company to run my Facebook ads. So I interviewed 4 amazing companies who do Facebook ad management. And I was like, y'all are all great. You're seriously all great. I would honestly have probably been happy going with any of them. And the one I went with, I chose them for a bunch of different reasons that are not necessary for me to get into. But one thing they did that the other companies did not do that I thought was really interesting, and I should tell them about this, but they might not even realize how like powerful of a thing it is. But what they did, we had the call, all of that. Then when they send me the contract and invoice, which you guys, service businesses, we typically do a discovery call, and then, the person's interested, you send them a proposal, contract, and invoice, or maybe you start with just the proposal, but whatever it is, typically those 3 things go together and that's it. But what they did was they also sent me all of the onboarding stuff at the exact same time. So they sent me the Google Drive folders they use for me to upload assets into. They sent me the onboarding questionnaire. They sent me the directions to add them into my Facebook accounts, like literally everything. It was all sent at the same time, which could seem kind of presumptuous that I'm going to book them, which to be fair on our call, I was like pretty in. But I also think even if the person is not that sure, but you're sure that you want to work with them, this can increase the booking. It can make stuff go faster because they're no longer thinking, I'm really thinking about signing this contract, paying the invoice, but like what happens next? Are they gonna bail? Like what do I have to do? Is it gonna be a ton of work? Like those kind of questions. you can show them all in the same step. And like maybe they don't book still, and like maybe then you wasted some time creating the onboarding content for them, which by the way, you should have some standardized onboarding content to begin with, so it shouldn't be much time lost. But it's going to reduce uncertainty. So for me, I was not having to ask the question in my mind, what happens after I sign the contract and pay the invoice? Like, are they going to ask me the right questions to really know my company for ads? Like, I wasn't having to ask all that because they gave me clarity about the next step, and that made giving my money to them easier. And by the way, this company is actually the most expensive monthly investment I've made in my business yet. So it was a big decision. And again, they reduced the uncertainty because I felt like, okay, I know what happens next, and I actually can pay this invoice, sign the contract, and immediately work on the getting started side of it. So my question for you with this one is like service businesses, like could you benefit from doing that? And again, I feel like this is such a huge thing. And I know like for me, having hired people now, more like hired companies to help with things, I see how beneficial this is. And it's again, something like for me as a person who still does services some, I want to like integrate this because it does help reduce uncertainty. So could you do that? Could you go ahead and send the onboarding stuff when you send the contract, invoice, proposal, all of it? All right, and we are on to the final step, the fifth one here. So the fifth one is satisfaction guarantees. So this is, again, another like seemingly obvious one. Talk about removing uncertainty, right? Like this can look like a number of ways. It could be a money back offer. It could be a variety of refunds, full refunds, partial refunds, certain amount of days. There's all these different things you can do alongside this. But when you do this, you are putting the risk on you, not the customer, which again, normally the risk is on the customer. When they hand over their money, the risk is on them. If your stuff is not good enough, they might just be out money without some kind of guarantee like this. So when you do this, you're putting the risk on you. You're literally saying, I really believe in this product. I believe it's going to work 100%. I've done my due diligence that it will work. And if it doesn't, money back to you. No risk on you. So I likely will do an entire episode on this topic, so I'm not going to talk about it much here, but I feel really passionate for product businesses. This is not really necessarily something as much for service businesses, but again, you can integrate some of this with service as well. But I really believe in this for product businesses, and I do refunds for website templates. We offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. There are some stipulations that involve you like doing the work of trying the product that are laid out. But it's so funny. I've done this basically the whole time I've had my template shop, and I've only ever refunded, guess how many? 3 customers. I literally counted before recording this, and we've had hundreds of customers at this point with 3 refunds. And the reason I think that is the case is because I think me believing in the product is a real thing. I know it's going to work. And so that's why I can confidently offer refunds and give the refund to someone had it not worked, which it's funny, of those 3 refunds, at least 2 of them thought it was a template for a different platform. So they just were not correct in having bought it. But anyway, that's another story. So sometimes though, I think people fear offering refunds because you're afraid, you're scarce around money. You're afraid if I offer a refund, everyone's going to take it. I'm going to lose money. But if that's the fear, I'd ask you, do you really believe in your product? Do you believe it does what you're promising? And I think a reason people often don't do refunds is because they have a fear that their marketing doesn't match up to the offer and the results. So that's really the place to start. If you are a product and you're afraid of refunds, start there of like, does it do what it says it's going to do? And I also want to point out like a common reason people don't do refunds is because it's digital stuff. So you technically can't take it back. That is true of my templates, and I still do refunds. And again, this is something for another episode because I want to expand on this, because I think this is a common leaving money on the table thing, because you're putting the risk of a seemingly feeling like expensive product, a big investment, on the buyer instead of on yourself. So again, this one really does apply to products. If you're a website designer like me, don't do a refund on someone's site after you do tons of hours of work and they think it doesn't work after thousands of dollars. Like, that's not what I'm suggesting. But for products, I think this can really be good to put the risk on you, not the customer, and ultimately increase their certainty in buying because of it. And to start, make a product you believe in and that works, and then believe it enough to offer refunds if it doesn't work. So it's a really simple thing there. And yeah, that's the final one, satisfaction guarantees. So I want to recap these, the ways you can decrease uncertainty and sell certainty with your offers. So I talked through 5 different ones. The first one was free trials, or a try before you buy method. So remember, that was like you giving someone a free month of work, knowing the cost up front, and then, deciding if they want to move forward or not. Second one, a video tour of the inside of your product or service, or an extensive written format detailing exactly what the process is. Third one, social proof that goes beyond written testimonials. Fourth one, showing the next step, basically the onboarding, at the same time as the contracts and invoices are sent. And the final one, offering satisfaction guarantees on your products. So I hope that you will pick one of these areas, pick one of these 5 things, and figure out, how can I integrate that into my decision-making time for my potential clients and customers. And would you do me a favor, if you enjoyed this episode, if you got something out of it, if you're like, yes, I'm going to do one of those 5 things, will you shoot me a message on Instagram, or better yet, post about this episode to your stories and tag me and tell me what you're going to do in your business from these steps? I would seriously love to hear from you. And if you're not on social media, email is great too, however it works. But I want to hear from you guys of what you're going to do from these 5 things. And if you like this episode, and if you want more stuff about this stage of the buying process, because it really was fun for me to think about, and so fun that this came about from a random conversation with Adam. I'm going to have to tell him to listen to this episode to hear how that one comment we made talking about funny enough retirement accounts turned into all of this stuff. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed this. I got to hop off now because I have a call with my bookkeeper in 3 minutes. So hope you enjoyed this, and I'll be back next Tuesday with another episode. Bye, you guys. Thank you for listening to the podcast this week, friend. I appreciate you being here. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, I want to tell you about something. I would encourage you to check out my website template shop. Over on elizabethmccravey.com, you'll find Show It website templates, and they are easy to use, strategically designed, and created to help you book more clients and customers. Maybe your current website is really boring. I don't know, maybe it is, and maybe you don't want to hurt its feelings, but you know it's true. And your website needs to be strategically and intentionally designed in order for it to convert your viewers into raving customers. And that's what these website templates do on MShop. These are pre-made website templates built for the Show It platform, where you can plug and play your content into the template with ease and then get started with a website that is made to actually make you money. Isn't that what we all want, right? So go shop the templates at elizabethmccravey.com/shop. That link is also in the show notes. And don't forget that you can actually subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening so that you never miss an episode. And I would so appreciate it if you left a rating and review for the show on Apple Podcasts, or even just share it with a friend. It's a great way to support the show and then give us your feedback. So thanks so much for listening.